"Where are you going, monkey? I need to take out a loan in your name and buy my mother a diamond ring." The words hit her like a hammer. Meryem froze at the door, clutching her purse, which held nothing but her passport and a few bills. For weeks she had been secretly preparing to leave, hiding small amounts of money, imagining possible escape routes, and replaying conversations in her head. She had often rehearsed the moment in silence, but when it came for real, her legs felt heavy, as if nailed to the floor. That evening, her resolve finally reached its peak. Yet Kadir stood before her, blocking the doorway, his face twisted with rage, his eyes full of contempt. When Meryem married Kadir, she was only 22. She remembered the day vividly, the flowers in her hair, the music, the laughter of friends. Back then, Kadir seemed like a man from a dream, attentive, generous, always whispering promises of eternal protection. He told her she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, and she believed every word. She thought she was stepping into a life of love and partnership. But within a year, the mask began to crack. His mother, stern, controlling, and endlessly critical, dictated every aspect of Meryem's life. She told her what meals to cook, how to dress, even how to speak. At first, Meryem tried to see it as advice, as care from an older woman. But the instructions soon turned into commands, and Kadir started echoing them. Slowly, he changed. Petty remarks turned into sharp insults, whispered at first, and then shouted in front of others. Eventually came threats, manipulations, and open humiliation. Meryem endured it all for the sake of her child. Her son, 5-year-old Deniz, was her only source of strength. She remembered how small he looked the first time he hid under the table, covering his ears as Kadir yelled. His wide eyes, full of fear, pierced her heart. It was in that moment she realized she could not let her son grow up thinking this was normal. Love should not sound like rage, and family should not feel like prison. But leaving Kadir wasn't simple. He had debts, a criminal record, and no stable work. He knew Meryem had a clean reputation and good credit history. To him, she was not a wife, but a resource to exploit. "You owe me. You're my wife. If I say you'll sign, you'll sign. My mother deserves a ring better than the neighbors," he shouted. His fist clenched so tightly the veins bulged. At first, Meryem thought she misheard. Was he really talking about a diamond ring for his mother, while their family was falling apart? The absurdity of it all struck her. For years she had sacrificed her peace, her health, and her happiness, and now she was reduced to nothing but a tool in his eyes. Her heart pounded like a drum, but something inside her broke free. "I am not a monkey, Kadir," she whispered, her voice shaking at first, then stronger. "And I am not your possession. I am the mother of your son, and a human being who deserves a life without humiliation." For the first time in years, fire burned in her eyes. She pushed away his hand and stepped out of the door despite his curses echoing behind her. That night she stayed at a friend's apartment, lying awake on the couch while Deniz slept beside her. The silence felt unreal. No shouting, no threats, just the sound of her son breathing. Fear still gripped her, fear of the unknown, fear of retaliation, but alongside, it came relief, like fresh air after years in a sealed room. Kadir didn't stop. He called incessantly, left threatening messages, and stood outside her parents' house at night. He tried to manipulate her with promises, then with threats, then with pity. But for the first time, she was not alone. A neighbor who had always seemed indifferent connected her with a lawyer. Her parents, with whom she had lost contact because of Kadir's controlling nature, opened their door to her and Deniz. Even colleagues she barely spoke to offered small but meaningful acts of support. A hot meal, a kind word, help with documents. The legal process was long and exhausting. Meryem had to sit in court and hear Kadir twist the truth, portraying himself as a victim. She trembled when facing him, but every time she looked at Deniz, sitting, with her parents in the back row, she remembered why she was fighting. After several months, the court dissolved the marriage. Meryem was granted full custody of Deniz. Kadir was ordered to pay alimony, though he did everything to avoid it. Still, for Meryem, victory wasn't about money. Victory was freedom. Now her mornings were quiet and filled with warmth. She cooked porridge for Deniz, and they shared breakfast without the sound of shouting. She learned to enjoy small rituals, walking him to school, holding his tiny hand, reading fairy tales at night. When Denise hugged her and whispered, "Mom, you're the strongest," her eyes filled with tears. Those words were worth more than any diamond, more than any ring or necklace. Sometimes fear still visited her. She would wake at night thinking she heard Kadir's voice outside the window. But then she remembered he no longer controlled her. She had reclaimed her life. Mayem's story was not just about betrayal and escape. It was about transformation. She had walked through fire and discovered strength she never knew she had. She realized that love is not about submission or sacrifice. It is about respect, kindness, and support. Even when the world seemed to collapse, there was always a path to freedom. One just had to dare to take the first step. Now she knew one thing with absolute certainty: no one would ever again call her a monkey or reduce her to a tool for their selfish desires. She had become stronger than she had ever imagined. Her example could inspire countless women who felt trapped in silence, showing them that freedom is worth more than the heaviest gold or the brightest diamonds. And as she watched Denise sleeping peacefully one evening, she whispered to herself, "We are free, and that is everything."